All right, we're live, so we're gonna just hang out for another minute. Why don't we start the show in a few minutes?
Yeah, I'll tweet it out.
Okay. I'll be looking for your guys' tweets too, and I'm on incognito on this Chrome window, so you can't
Uh-oh.
even see me coming.
Uh-oh. That's weird. All right, I'm going to close that so I don't get any notifications.
Is everyone's phones on silent too?
Yep.
Okay.
People show up now, they're going to be like, this is a very quiet show. It's a transcendental meditation show. Hope you enjoy it, everybody.
Tune in and just like hum to yourself silently.
Just stare at our faces quietly. Think about your thoughts.
I like it. Okay. Here we go. Jamila, your tweet looks great.
Yeah, I know.
Looks very pro.
That's how I roll.
Yeah. Looks good. Wow, Jason, you're legit enough to have a verified account on Twitter?
Apparently, showed up one day. I was
Wow.
like, don't know why, but all right.
Must
I'll
be
take
nice.
the blue dot. Oh, man, let me tell you, my Twitter just off the charts with the amount of fake spam accounts that follow me. So I
Yeah,
will say,
Go ahead.
the one interesting thing that has happened since my account became verified, it has not. I mean, it literally does nothing for me, except for the fact that whenever a professional football player gets on Twitter, and then whoever manages their Twitter account goes through and follows like 10,000 verified accounts, I get followed. So like Pac-Man Jones, Terrell Owens, like a couple other football players have all followed me. I mean, I've never ever interacted with them ever, but it's
But
just
super
weird.
legit people follow you.
Right.
Yeah, but like I never interact with them. Like I could tweet like, if anybody who's famous is following me, like say hello. Like, not that I would do that, but like no one would even see it. They don't care. All they want to do is just push their stuff anyway.
Yeah, that's a really funny thing.
That's weird.
Okay, so here we go. Yeah, I mean, you have a good Twitter following. Let's see. We have no external viewers as of now, so when we
Yeah.
get a few, we'll go ahead and start.
And you know I'm going to syndicate this on my column as well.
Right, right.
So it should be straight.
That's the thing. Just people want it when they want it, man.
Yeah.
They
All
see
right, you know
something
what?
they're like,
Let's go for it right now. Let's go for it right now, because yeah, people can watch it later. So, you guys ready?
let's do it.
All right. So, good evening, everyone. It's Monday. What is even the date today? I lose track of time. February 23rd. Thanks for joining us for the 6th episode of the DC Executive Hangout. I'm Jared Gold, and this is my co-host Jamila. Jamila, say hi.
Hello.
All right, so excited to have everyone here. Please feel free to share the link to the show with others from YouTube, the YouTube live stream, or tweet about it using the hashtag DC Executive Hangout. And you can tweet questions to Jamila Corbett's personal Twitter account at Jamila Corbett, so JamilahCorbitt. So we're excited for our guest tonight. He is Jason Zook of JasonDoesStuff.com. He's an unconventional marketer and a fearless entrepreneur. In 2008, he started out wearing sponsored T-shirts for a living, earning him $1 million or more. Jason, you can clarify on that soon. In 2014, he self-published a book called Creativity for Sale, and he crowdfunded it by raising $75,000. And now he speaks regularly and has a popular online blog and email newsletter that he uses to inspire his readers. So Jason will cover some unconventional marketing tactics that he used to build numerous successful businesses and get that loyal online following that we all want. So Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we'll start with the overview. How did you get the idea? We're all wondering this anyway. I don't care what anyone says. How did you get the idea to wear shirts for companies, using yourself as like a living, breathing, mobile, in-person marketing platform?
Well, it started out when I was a baby Gap model, when I was little, obviously. No,
You're not supposed to tell people stuff like that.
Scratch. We can edit that out. It's a live show, but we can edit that out when it's recorded. Yeah, I actually co-owned a web design company after quitting my 9-to-5 job, and so I was already working from my couch, wearing fleece pants every single day, going to the beach for like half the day. I mean, my work schedule was pretty relaxed. And we had clients. This is about 2007, 2008, and our clients were coming to us, and we were just doing design work. I had actually moved out of doing design. That was my trade. But I had started doing kind of marketing and customer relations. And these clients kept asking us, what's Twitter, what's Facebook, what's YouTube? Should we be on these things? I had no idea. I wasn't on any of them. I didn't use any of them. I didn't know what a tweet was. I didn't know anything really about Facebook other tthan like my college roommate was trying to meet girls on it, and I didn't know how that worked because he was never hanging out with these girls. So I looked at these places and I was like, oh wow, this is actually really interesting. There's these communities with lots of people, and at the time then it was like a couple million, so it wasn't even. I mean, Facebook was probably bigger than that, but Twitter was relatively small, and it was just all these people having organic conversations about things. A lot of times brands were coming up, but the brands weren't there to join the discussion. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Brands are represented on TV, print, magazine, radio, I mean, everywhere, but not in these social media platforms where people are actually hanging out and talking. What if I could connect to those two? What if I could take those social communities here, brands here, and be a conduit in between? And I don't know why I thought I could be that guy, but it was kind of like, hey, here's a moment in time. Like, this is an interesting idea. And I was sitting in my closet one day looking at all my shirts, trying to decide what to wear, because like the hardest part of my day, because the fleece pants obviously took care of the bottom half of me. I was good. And I looked at all these shirts. I'm like, man, I'm schlepping all of these brands already. Like, I'm paying for their shirts, and then I'm wearing, Nike, Polo, whatever it was I was wearing at the time, right out of college, whatever out of college guys wear. And it was like a moment when I like a strike of lightning hit me in my closet. I was like, why not try and wear a company shirt every day? Be the guy that talks about these different brands and put it all together through social media content, photo, video. I'd never done any of this stuff, but it seemed easy enough. And just bring a real humanistic approach to advertising through T-shirts, talking about brands, engaging with communities that were already in existence. And I think I was just naive enough to think that I could do it. Like, I was just like, well, sure. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? I still have this successful design company, so this little side project that I'm coming up with, let's just try it and see how it goes.
And there are actually a lot of teams that that have vines that are employed by these brands to be brand advocates of the companies. Would you consider yourself a pioneer when it comes to that, since you were one of the first people to do it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think like brand advocates and that type of stuff, it's been around for a while, right? I mean, it's been around way before I ever started doing this stuff on social media. But I do think that it added like a piece of kind of legitimization of human advertising, just of the fact that like one human can reach a lot of other humans in a unique way. And Vine didn't exist when I started. I mean, YouTube was barely around. I mean, there weren't that many people who were making money on YouTube when I started. And it was interesting because I was making money on YouTube, but not from YouTube. I wasn't like a YouTuber who was making videos and then getting paid on the back end because a lot of people watched them. I was getting paid by companies for this I Wear Your Shirt business, and then I was putting that content on YouTube, which is actually funny now because, I mean, my account has 3,300 videos or something on it. I don't make any videos anymore. I stopped in 2013, but I average 250,000 views a month. I have over 12 million views, and Google cuts me a check for like $200 a month. And it's hilarious because I never got paid while I was making those videos by YouTube, but now, like years later, I feel like this must be what record deals feel like, right? Like, it's just like I made the music, I put it out, I didn't make much money, I hustled, and now I make a cool $200 every month.
This is how U2 and Nicolas Cage still are in business. That's my
Not
opinion.
just in business, extremely rich.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
That's just easy residual income.
Yeah, that's my passive income stream, is to work extremely hard for 5 years and then make about $2,000 a year after that. That's the epic blog post I need to write.
I love it. So, and how did you first build a list of people to market to and get the word out about what you're doing? I mean, like, how did you take advantage of kind of the virality of the fact that you are a moving billboard for these companies, right? You kind of flipped the script on them and being like, well, you should pay me to wear your stuff. So how did you even get that email list to market to?
Yeah, well, so here's what's interesting. I didn't know what I was doing. It was interesting when I launched iwearyourshirt.com in October of 2008. I think there were like 12 people that showed up. My mom, my grandmother. I refreshed the page on multiple browsers, so I was probably 7 or 8 of those viewers. The developer of the site. I mean, no one showed up, and I think that that's a really interesting mindset that even exists today. That people just think you can come up with this great idea, you can put a website out into the world, and people are going to find it. false. It's like putting up a billboard in the desert, right? Like no one, if there's no access, if there's no road to get there, no one's ever going to see it. So, I sat down and I thought about, okay, what do I have? I didn't have a Twitter account with any followers. My Facebook account was barren because I hadn't used these things yet. And I said, okay, I do have my email list. I do have, and by email list, I mean my address book with people's emails in it. I didn't have like an email marketing plan or strategy or any of that. So I just started emailing people one by one. Every person that I knew, maybe I had about 150 contacts. And I just said, hey, I've created this really crazy idea called I Wear Your Shirt. I don't want you to buy, even though it's a really cool pricing structure that I'm using where the first day is $1, second day is $2, 3 days $3. I just want you to share it with a business who might find this wacky idea interesting. And I would say that probably 75% of those emails got ignored. Maybe another 10% of those got like a nasty reply back of someone being like, this is stupid, like go back to wearing fleece pants on your couch. The remaining whatever percentage is left, 15%, actually shared it. And they did because it was a personalized message that I sent to every person. So I've actually used that same tactic for every project that I've launched year over year, even until I just launched this masterclass that you're actually going to be a part of, Jared, which is really cool, that's going on this week. And I sent it to probably 50 people personally. And I just said, hey, this is the class I'm doing if you know anybody, because I've just seen the power of that when you reach out like organically, and obviously it can't scale. There's no way I can scale that. There's no way you can automate that. People think you can. But I saw a lot of success with that early on, and that people shared it. It created that word of mouth for me. And it was a slow trickle. I mean, it really was. It was just every day trying to keep doing what I was doing, trying to reach more people. And funny enough, I tell this story often, in the first year of I Wear Your Shirt's existence, there were 3 million people that eventually came to the website. Like, it eventually took off, a lot of traffic. I never had an email sign-up form on the website. So, like, my list building opportunity was immensely missed during that time. But I probably wouldn't have built a list that I would use anymore, and I actually have a blog post coming out soon about that I did end up building a list on that site. It was 25,000 subscribers or so, and I deleted them all because they weren't serving me anymore. They weren't the audience that I wanted to build. They weren't the people I wanted to talk to. So, I've learned a lot over the years about building a list. I think it's probably the first thing you should do. We'll talk about some other marketing stuff, I'm sure. But I just did it organically. I built a spreadsheet. I reached out to people, tried to build my own word of mouth, because that is the most powerful form of advertising, especially if you're starting your own thing where you don't have an ad budget or marketing budget.
Okay. I like it, Jason. I like it. And by the way, guys, and I'm sorry I forgot to say this before, if you want to check out Jason's stuff, just go to, what is it, jasondoesstuff.com?
Yeah.
Okay, so jasondoesstuff.com, and you can get all of the information there on all the cool things he's working on. So, and Jason, where would you say you learned the awesome marketing skills that you have, and where can people learn now? Certain sources, what have you?
Yeah, I really don't think that I'm inherently more creative than anybody else. I think that I give myself more space to be creative, in that I don't really watch much TV. I mean, I watch sports, but that's about it. So like I don't sit in front of a TV for 5 or 6 hours a day. Instead, I'm writing ideas down in a journal, or I'm creating random stuff that I'm thinking about. And I've been that way for a long time, and that I don't like to waste a lot of time sitting around not doing stuff. And maybe that's just my personality. I'm always thinking, I'm always getting stuff done. But there are a couple things I think that coming up with creative ideas is really giving your brain space to do that. So like, every single day I start my day with a shower, and maybe that sounds stupid to some people, that like, well, of course I start my day with a shower. But like for me, that's a place where I know that I go where my brain can just work. And I figured that out about myself. If I go and take a shower, no matter when it is, I will come up with an idea or I will solve a problem. If you can find that thing for yourself, if that's walking the dog, if that's like going for, taking a nap, like I don't know, whatever it is for you, that like, probably not taking a nap because I would shut you down. But if you can find your own creative stillness and your own creative space, I think there's a lot of power and opportunity there that people just don't give themselves, because they constantly want to check their phone, or they want to refresh their Facebook page and see all this stuff. I've always tried to carve out space throughout my entire day to just come up with stuff. And so I think that's a really interesting thing. And then one that I stole recently from James Altucher is I write down 10 ideas in a journal every day, no matter what. And those ideas can pertain to blog posts, they can pertain to a project that I'm working on, anything, just 10 random ideas. And the trick to that is that at the end of a year, you'll have 3,650 ideas that you wrote down. I guarantee you one of them will be good. I mean, I know for me, in like the first, whatever we're at, 50 some odd days of this year, I've probably had 10 to 12 awesome ideas that I've come up with. I wouldn't have come up with them if I had not sat down for 5 minutes and actually physically wrote down ideas without any distraction of anything. So I think you can really set yourself up to be creative, and you can come up with ideas if you just give yourself space and you make it like a to-do list item every single day.
So I think that's, have you read the How to Become an Idea Machine or what have you?
I haven't.
So I know that was written by his wife and I guess co-authored by him, and he wrote a good blog post on it. I'm also a James Altucher fan. He's a very eccentric but interesting guy, and I subscribe to a lot of the things he says, and I also try to do the 10 ideas a day. I don't do it as strictly as you do, so I applaud you for doing that. But I think it's a really good exercise in forcing yourself to, because he calls it like an idea muscle, and so getting in the habit of always thinking of these new things and getting your brain used to thinking outside the box and not being afraid of thinking of something that may be stupid. Yep. Because once in a while you're going to think of that outlandish idea that could be excellent, and no one else, it could have just randomly popped into your head. So just opening your mind to get in that habit, I think is really cool. So good for you. So on to the main part of our show here. What would you say your big aha moment was in internet marketing?
It's a good question. I mean, I don't necessarily know that I've even had like the big aha moment yet. I mean, I think maybe my biggest thing has just been to keep trying stuff, is that I continually put stuff out into the world. A lot of people ask a question of, Jason, how do you sell so much stuff? Do you ever get tired of selling so much stuff? You're always creating new things. Like, does that ever, weigh on you? And it doesn't, because the stuff that I'm creating is valuable to me, and I think it's valuable to somebody else. If I was just trying to schlep some like 12 DVD series on how to, optimize your social media presence, yeah, I'd probably hate my life and I'd never want to sell that stuff. But I'm not. I'm creating things that are valuable to me, and I'm always pushing myself to create new things and sell them in different ways, and to use interesting pricing structures as marketing tools, or to use scarcity in certain times for stuff. And so there's just a lot of experimentation, and I think that, one thing that I don't do is I don't copy a lot of other people. I think most people, if they look at my resume from what I've done over the years, there was no one getting paid to wear T-shirts for a living. There's no one who's ever sold their last name before. There may have been people who crowdfunded or got a couple sponsors for a book, but I got 204, and I didn't use a crowdfunding platform. I did it myself. There's just all these things where I see what other people do, I get inspired by it, or I take motivation from it, but I don't copy it. And I think that's where a lot of internet marketers go wrong, is they see the success of someone and they go, oh, I want to repeat that success. They try and copy it. It'll never work the same for you. It just won't. I mean, you have to take something that you learn, apply it to your own unique idea in your own unique voice. What's really unique to you? Like, what sounds really Jared? What sounds really Jamila? Like, what is it to you that's intrinsically unique that people are interested in? And put that out into the world. And see, like, the first time you do it, it'll probably suck, and no one will want it, and that's just the honest truth. But if you can keep putting that stuff out there and keep honing it and changing it, you'll get to a point where people then want all of your stuff. They're like, oh, I really align with everything that you're doing. I'll buy everything. And there are people that I get that email me when I launch a product. They're like, I'm so mad at you because I'm going to buy this. And I laugh, and it's not because I've brainwashed them. It's because I've created my own voice. I build the products that I want to build, and that person aligns with that, and they're like, I'm happy to give you money because I know I'm going to get value from it. So if that's the way that you can build an internet marketing business or an entrepreneurial business or whatever, that's kind of the lens that I look at it through. And that would be my aha moment, I guess.
And you're being very authentic, and people love authentic people. People love authenticity. So what are your 3 major tips for those looking to gain a loyal following online? We know adding value is one, being authentic. What would you say the third one is?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think the one thing that I learned over the years, just to reiterate number 2, is a lot of times I pretended to be somebody I wasn't because I thought that would attract more people, when in fact when I was being that person, I was attracting the wrong people. And now I'm really bullish on just, this is who I am, cut and dry. If you like this person, awesome. I want you to follow me. I want you to get on my email list. I want you to, smash my Instagrams, like whatever you want to do. But if you're not, I want you to unsubscribe. I want you to go away. Like, I don't want you to be in my funnel, because I don't want a wide, big funnel. I want a deep funnel of people. I want like less people who are just on board. So I just wanted to reiterate that. You know, and I think the other thing is just to take a couple risks. They don't have to be huge risks. They don't have to be like, you know, I want to get paid to wear T-shirts for a living, and I'm going to quit my job. But it can be like a side project where, hey, you know, this is kind of a interesting, crazy idea. Like, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm willing to take the risk because it's something I'm really interested in. So I just think more people should take those risks and not be afraid of the consequences, because, you know, the worst thing that's going to happen is not going to be the worst thing that could possibly happen.
I like it. I mean, so Jason, one quick thing is that I do get your email newsletter, and I can vouch that your messages are very authentic and written in your own tone. So I do think I agree with you that you've kind of established your own voice and brand in terms, you know, because I subscribe to a bunch of different newsletters, and yours is very unique because obviously it's your voice. No one can duplicate your voice. So would you say it's just in a lot of ways, it would just be people practicing writing on their own and speaking from actually who they are on the inside, as opposed to trying to copy some marketing guru they read about or whatever, some clever marketing hype, right? Just writing, you know, representing who they are, and they'll just eventually find that voice that they need to resonate with their audience.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's a couple things there. So let's talk about like email marketing as a whole. And I was doing email marketing wrong up until about a year ago, and I've been an entrepreneur for 6 or 7 years. And you know, before, when I was doing email marketing, it was, you know, pump out a lot of messages, you know, giveaways to build a bigger list, you know, sell things and just try and keep like pounding down the door until people buy it, and it just wasn't getting through. And there wasn't enough story, there wasn't enough things for people to relate to. And I started reading my own emails going like, would I buy this product, or would I be interested in this email? And I said no. I was like, what? Like, and I think most businesses don't even do this. They'll send out an email, and I bet if you sat them down and said, please read your email and tell me if you would be interested in this offer, and they would say, no, that kind of sucks. And they're not real with themselves. They're not honest. And I was there. I had to become real and honest with myself. So I completely shifted my focus. I trimmed my email list way down, and I really started focusing on writing daily. And I have a daily writing practice. You know, I write down my 10 ideas a day. I usually write 500 to 1,000 words a day. Sometimes it's on topics that will never see the light of day. Sometimes it's on topics where I'm just angry and I want to just write like my response to something, and it never sees the light of day. I use Letterspace, which is an amazing free app for Mac and for iPhone. I just found it the other day. You can use Google Docs. You can use whatever you want to write. I like to write free of distractions, so I like an app that doesn't have all the formatting options and all the weird, you know, things you can do in Word or even in Google. I mean, there's so many different things you can do. But you know, I write all this stuff, and then I like to think about things like, am I really excited about this piece? Like, would I want to send it out tomorrow? Okay, that's a good one. Or does this scare me? And you're on my email list, Jared, and I'm not sure if you read today's email, but today's email was about a realization that I had when I was working my 9-to-5 job, reading Seth Godin's book, Purple Cow, where I decided that I had been trying to fit into society, and I had been trying to keep a steady level of average so that I would never get bothered anymore. And it was because, for me, I got bullied as a kid for being awkward and different, and then I just tried to fit in. I just always tried to fit in so I would never have to feel that way again. I wrote this post about a month and a half ago, and I was afraid to send it. It scared me. It was like, this is a really vulnerable moment. This is I don't put a lot of this stuff, this emotional stuff out into the world, and I don't know if I can share this. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put it on Facebook first because I have a smaller audience on Facebook. Let's just see what they say. And people loved the post. They commented. A lot of people felt the same way. They're like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. Like here I was thinking you're like this perfect entrepreneur who has everything going for them, and you're feeling the same thing I am. And I'm like, hell yeah, I am. Like I go through all this same scary stuff that you do. And so, you know, then it gave me the courage to put it on my email list. But that's my own content that I'm afraid to share with the world, and I look like someone who does all these risks and takes all these things. And it's just, I try and pour all of that into everything that I do now, and that's my focus, right? Because I want someone to get my email, like you said, and know that it's me, it's different. Like Jamila said, it's very authentic, and it's not content they're going to get somewhere else. I'm not going to write an article that's like 23 ways that you can boost your internet marketing, because that stuff's all bullshit anyway. What I want to give people is a story about a lesson I've learned in life, and then have them walk away and go, wow, I feel the same way, I need to change something about myself, or that's inspired me to do something. And that I think is like way more impactful.
I love it. I love it. So, as far as the next question is, what would you say? Let's say someone's on your email list, right? You know, you call your email list the Action Army, right? So let's say someone is on this Action Army email list. What would you say is the single biggest indicator of success in a new entrepreneur? So let's say someone has a 9-to-5 job and they're reading this email list. What is that trait that would maybe be the biggest that person has that would be the single biggest indicator if they were to pursue entrepreneurship in terms of success?
I think that they're just willing to do stuff. I think they're willing to put stuff out into the world, and they're not willing to like put roadblocks up in front of themselves and say, "Oh, I want to try this, but I'm too afraid, or there's too much resistance, and I have too much self-doubt." You know, for me, my favorite emails from my email list are when someone responds and goes, "Jason, I just read this post, or I read this post you did a month ago, and I started my side project, and I've made a couple $100, or I got a sponsorship for this idea that I've had for years." Or, I mean, I had a guy who emailed me a week ago and was like, "Jason, I've been on your email list for about 8 months. I finally quit my job. I'm working for my dad's bee and maple, like honey and maple syrup company." And he's like, "I'm doing all the marketing, I'm doing all this stuff. Like, I'm going to help him grow this business. And I don't know why I've been so afraid to like dive into that like full on and like apply my skills to it." And I'm scared for him. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to work out, but I'm so excited that my messages have encouraged him to do that. And I think that if he just goes into it head first and does it, it's going to be awesome for him. So I love when people just take action, and you don't have to quit your job by any means. But if you just do something, if you just move yourself forward one step every day and try something, I think there's so much, that to me is so much more of success than getting a secure job and working somewhere for 30 years.
Oh yeah, I mean, just really pulling the trigger is what you're saying. So
Yeah.
enough talking, just do something, just take an action. Don't get caught up in planning. What's the phrase where it's like perfect is the enemy of great or something like that, or
Yeah.
I don't know, some along those lines, where it's if you take all the time to plan, you're never actually going to execute, and you're just going to keep making excuses.
Exactly.
So on to the next question is, what would you say are the biggest misconceptions about building an online business? Because it is the cool thing now, I think, for everyone to be like, "Oh, I'm starting a business," or "Oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur." What would you say are the misconceptions about building an online business?
I think there's a couple. I think one is that like overnight success is a possibility. It's not. Like you could have the craziest, best idea ever, like the $1 million homepage, and people remember that years ago. Go read the actual story on Wikipedia of how the $1 million homepage happened, because everyone thinks it was like this overnight success. This kid made $1 million. It's absolutely false. I mean, he actually invested part of his money to get a press release for, I think it was BBC in the UK to talk about this idea so that he could get more eyeballs on it. And he had to spend money to make this thing get worthwhile, where everyone thinks it was just like this viral overnight project. And I wrote about it in my book because it's such a great thing for people to realize that so many people have heard of that story and they just think of it as the guy who made $1 million off of this website. There's so much more to that. And I think that leads into the fact that like a lot of people only read about entrepreneurship through Inc. magazine or Fast Company or Mashable or whatever. And unfortunately, those two magazines or those two like publications talk about two parts of entrepreneurship. One, which is the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, which none of us can relate to because there's one Mark Zuckerberg out of 7 billion people on the planet. And the other is all the people who are just making shit up and there's no accountability to it. Like the people who are like, "Oh, you can triple your revenue by getting on Twitter and doing these 10 things." Well, like no one goes back to be like, "Hey man, no, that didn't work. Like take this article down." And the big gap in the middle there is the me's of the world who like they don't want to tell my story of the struggle. Or in 2013 when I closed down my business and I was $100,000 in debt and I had $9 in my bank account. If I would have gone to Forbes and said, "Hey, will you write about this? Like you're someone who wrote about the fact that I made $500,000 wearing T-shirts in 1 year," they would have laughed at me. They would have said, "No, I'm not going to tell that story. It's not going to help anybody," because they don't want to talk about that stuff. They want to talk about the big successes. So I think the big misnomer for entrepreneurship and startup and creating your own online business is that it's hard. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. You're going to mess up, but if you stick with it, if you really believe in what you're doing, then you're going to get somewhere. You're going to have success, and whatever that means to you. And you have to reevaluate what success means. To me, it was owning a Ferrari, having $1 million, being retired by 35. I wrote a whole blog post on my site about that like being just the stupidest idea ever. That is the MTV Cribs version of success. That's not like what actually matters to me in my life. And you have to realign that stuff. So, I get really passionate about this because I just feel like entrepreneurship is really lumped into a couple different buckets when there's this big middle gap where everybody's actually living and eating and breathing and struggling that people don't talk about.
Yeah, I mean, there's the 1% of entrepreneurs that are the Zuckerbergs or whatnot that just completely crush it, but that is not the normal story is really the one that they don't talk about, which is, 3/4 or 80% of entrepreneurs just fail. And like you said, the definition of success totally varies. Maybe failure is, hey, this person didn't make $2 million in this amount of time, or maybe failure is just this person closed down the business, didn't make any money, and didn't learn anything from it. So, yeah, God, those publications, I pretty much ignore all those now. They're pretty terrible. Well, Mashable's okay, but like Entrepreneur and Inc. and all those, most of the content there is not helpful. And so on that note, what experts or content sources do you follow? So you mentioned James Altucher. Who else do you follow?
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, when I started I Wear Your Shirt in 2009 or 2008, but got going in 2009, everybody was like, "Hey, like, were you inspired by Gary Vaynerchuk? Like, you're doing a video a day. He does this like wine library thing." I was like, "Who's Gary? Who? Like, I don't even know who that is." And to say that now, if you're in the internet marketing space, you're like, "How could you not know who this guy is?" And I look at that because I don't focus on the people who are in my arena, and part of that is because like I'm not selling to those people. Like, I'm not building products for the people that are, I guess, on my level. Like, Gary Vee would never buy any of my stuff. The people that I'm building for and the people that I want to, like, join the Action Army, as you mentioned in my newsletter, are the entrepreneurs that are struggling, that are in the middle of that thing, that need the help, they need the motivation, they need the inspiration, they need the resources, like a masterclass on launching a product. They need that stuff. So I need to make sure that I'm surrounding myself with as many of those people as possible, because if I just surround myself with all the people who are winning and doing all this stuff, I'm going to have no one to sell to. I'm going to have no one to market to because they're not going to need my message. So, I've always been a firm believer in, number one, going outside my bubble. So, like, if I want creative inspiration or if I want motivation, I look to other industries and other things. And, for a long time, my RSS feed, when that was the thing, or my RSS reader, when that was the thing, was literally just like art blogs and fashion blogs. I'm not into art and fashion. Look at me. Do I look like I'm into art and fashion? Not at all, but I get super inspired by that stuff. And that's the thing that I think people need to get out of their own bubble. And if you're a web designer, stop being on Dribbble all day long. Like, go somewhere else. Go out of that territory. If you're an online marketer, stop looking at what all online marketers are doing and go read books about, Henry Ford, and go read books about Einstein, and go read books about people who are successful like way in the past before the internet existed, because you can create a successful business that has nothing to do with what other internet marketers are doing.
Yeah, I mean, makes a lot of sense to me. I really like that, and it also, maybe you can pull from successes from other markets and make connections that people wouldn't have made otherwise. Maybe, you think of some new web concept that not all the designers on Dribbble are doing, but all these French impressionist painters have done or something. I don't know, bad example, but yeah, you can pull and make connections between seemingly unrelated things.
Yeah.
And so what would you say are some markets that are ripe for disruption for new solo entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think it's less about looking to a market where you can disrupt or you can make a name for yourself, and more about saying, like, what's intrinsically me, like, what's my superpower? And I define a superpower as something that I can do that most other people can't, that then brings value to other people. So I look at that and I go, okay, if I'm really good at X, then, like, are other people doing this? And if they are, I don't look at that as, oh crap, other people are already doing this. I look at that as like, whoa, there's already people paying for this. I think that's really interesting. And I think, like an I Wear Your Shirt, or, selling my last name, or writing a book, those weren't those types of businesses. Those were I'm going to take a risk, I'm going to see if these works. The stuff that I've been doing that supplemented my income for the past couple of years are, creating online courses, creating digital products, doing some consulting stuff, doing public speaking. How many public speakers are out there? But I have my own unique message, I have my own unique story, and when someone emails me and goes, hey, will you come speak at our event and talk about social media? I go, no, I won't. because there are a lot of other people who do that, and I don't really care about that. But I'll tell you my story of how I made $1 million wearing T-shirts for a living. I'll tell you how I made over 100 grand selling my last name twice, and I'll tell you about the social media aspects that went into that and how I grew an audience and talked with them and used those platforms. And almost always they're like, oh crap, yeah, absolutely, I want to have you come. But that's why I don't pitch myself as just another person doing another thing. So to really go back to your question, I think a person just has to say, what am I really interested in? Where do I think I can make an impact? Let me build in that market. Let me start there and let's see, what I can do. And it doesn't matter if there's an existing market for it. That's just proof in the pudding that there's people there that are willing to pay for it.
And
Okay.
I think you really hit the nail on the head, and it really sounds like you're communicating your why. You're very good at communicating your why to prospects, to your audience. And so that's a great segue into the next question. What are some of the key marketing mistakes that most entrepreneurs and companies are making?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you one of mine, and that's very much that I didn't know what my why was. And I think that too many times we try and chase our passion and try and figure out what that thing is. Like there's this big movement right now that's like, find your passion, find your purpose. I don't know what those things are for me. I don't. I know what I'm really curious about. Like I can find my curiosities very easy. I can find that my experimentation's very easy. And those are things that I'm focusing on because, sure, maybe in 5 or 10 years, I'll figure out what my passion is. Like right now, I love helping entrepreneurs, like I've been talking about. But a couple years ago, it was I love helping small businesses tell their stories through social media content. That was the crux of I Wear Your Shirt. This changes for me often, and I'm so open to it changing, and I'm so receptive to that. And I think so many people are against that. Like, oh, this is my idea. This is what I wrote my business plan on. I have to stick to this. And that's why, like Jared said, 3/4 or 80% or 90% or whatever businesses or entrepreneurs go out of business in the first year, that's why. Because they're afraid to change. They think they have this plan they have to stick to. And a lot of times they don't even want to be doing that thing. So, I like the thing that I'm doing. I'm open to changing the thing that I'm doing. And that's kind of how I look at it.
So being willing to pivot, so to speak, in startup terms, is being willing to, I think the way to say it is like, don't think about it in terms of fixed costs or sunk costs, sorry. So where it's like, oh, I've spent already a year doing this. You don't want to chase bad money and bad time with more of that, right? You just want to cut your losses if something isn't going well and readjust until you can find success. So would you say that sums that up?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the pivot thing is really interesting because I played basketball. I was going to play basketball in college. And you think about pivoting in basketball. You have one foot that has to be planted and one that can move, right? But here's the great thing about a pivot foot. You can move the other foot as much as you want. And I think that's where, as entrepreneurs, you get stuck thinking like you only have one thing you can move. You don't. You don't have this foot that's set in the ground that if you move it, you get a foul called on you. Your business is this foot. It can go this way, this way, this way. You can move around in a circle as much as you want. You can pivot as much as you like. I should write a blog post on this because it might only make sense to basketball players who are entrepreneurs, but I think it'll resonate. But I think it's so true. Like, pivot as much as you want. Who cares? Again, there's no one keeping score here going like, oh, Jason changed his purpose again, like, buy his product. Like, that doesn't happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, Jamila and I both like basketball. Jamila was also a basketball player.
Nice.
I was a marginal basketball player for house league, so I wasn't particularly good. But I think the basketball reference, the funny thing is I say pivot all the time just because it's a startup word, but actually thinking about the metaphor makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no one's there, just because you yourself are the same, and that's the planted foundation. You know what you know, but there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different directions that you can apply it. But the point is to just pick one and go with it and see what happens.
Absolutely.
So now on to some fun and random questions we have for you. Thank you for all your insights so far, Jason.
Sure.
So what would you say are some books or tools or apps that you love or have changed your life?
Yeah, I have a resource for this only because I kept asking it, and I would repeat myself or I would forget. So if people want to listen or see my whole list of resources, you can go to jasondoesstuff.com/things. If you go to jasondoesstuff.com, it's also in the navigation because this is a question I get all the time. But I'll give you three. There are three things that I think are critical for every entrepreneur to have at their disposal. One is a journal. I don't care if it's a 5-minute journal. I don't care if it's an action journal. I don't care what kind of journal it is. Like for me, this is my 2015 journal. It's this cork journal I found on Amazon. It's just cool. It's different. The second one is the book Rework by the 37 Signals guys. Very close to that in a 2, B, like a little B number next to 2 would be The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. I think those 2 books are like the best business books any entrepreneur can read. That will save you a whole semester in entrepreneurship classes, guaranteed. And my third resource, I write a lot, so I love that Letterspace app. I think that's just for me a daily practice of writing. Helps me think of lots of ideas. It helps me work through a lot of different things personally and professionally. So I love that app. It's a brand new one for me. But yeah, go to jasondoesstuff.com/things and you can get way more than 3.
Absolutely, and that was an excellent resource. It was actually like resources A to Z.
Yeah.
It was It was one of the more thorough lists I've ever seen, and I can attest that a lot of those things I personally used, and I'm definitely an evangelist for them. So
cool.
Check out that list. Yes, jasondoesstuff/things. That's a clever URL too. So I'm going to steal one question from a podcast I enjoy. If you ever listen to Entrepreneur on Fire.
Yeah, I've been on it twice.
Have you really? Okay,
yeah.
Wow, okay. So I kind of stopped following it, but you obviously know that one question that I'm about to ask you. So, let's say that you wake up tomorrow with $500 in your pocket and a laptop, but nothing else, and the world is the exact same as it is. You know everything that you know now, and your food and shelter is taken care of. What would you do?
I think it depends on what I want to do with my life. I mean, at the point that I am now, it'd be trying to find like-minded people and build like-minded projects with them. So I would probably get a bus ticket to go to Austin and go to South by Southwest and just try and meet as many entrepreneurs as possible and see what they're doing and see if there's any way with what I have on my laptop can help create and work with stuff that they're doing. And that would give me access to people that I'm like-minded with. That would give me access to people who are passionate. I mean, especially if I have, nothing. If I have no community, if I have nothing, that's a great place to go, and you can meet a lot of people and kind of do a lot of things. So that would be my answer right now. Maybe in a year, if I don't want to do that anymore, I'd probably just sell my laptop, use the money for a plane ticket to get to the Bahamas, and the rest of the money would be my food money for however long that would last.
Well, I think you bring up an excellent point of just, it's not like you said, oh, I'd set up a website or I'd set up something. You basically, what I drew from that is interpersonal relationships are the most important thing, and collaboration is the most important thing, because you have skills that other people would probably want, and other people have skills that you would want, and just working together can create some sort of added value that can be sold down the road in some capacity. So I think that's a very clever answer.
Hey, thanks. I win.
So yes, you win. You win. Sorry, we don't have any prizes yet, Jamila. Once we get a good budget with 1 million followers, we'll start buying things for our guests. So, what would you say? So, do you follow Lewis Howes by any chance?
I do. I've been on the School of Greatness as well.
Oh, wait, you're doing that, or you did?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that more off the air because I'm curious how that is. So, Lewis Howes always asks people what inspires them. So, I'm going to ask that to you.
Yeah, this changes for me a lot. I mean, I think my inspiration on a daily basis is kind of where my mind is and where my head is at. I'm reading on average 7 books at a time right now, and that's not because I'm a prolific reader. It's actually because I'm a very distracted reader. I can read a paragraph or 2, and then my brain just starts flying with ideas. So my inspiration comes from trying to digest a lot of different content that's outside of maybe my own bubble or my own sphere. I don't read any internet marketing books. Instead I read Peter Thiel's book, 0 to 1. I can't relate on any level to anything Peter Thiel has ever done. But it's inspiring. It's crazy. It's such a cool story, and he's so unbelievably smart that I can read a page or 2 of that at a time, and I get inspiration from it. And then a thing for me is really interesting is going to movies. I go to movies once or twice a week with my girlfriend. We watch, if we're gonna watch TV, for me it's sports or movies. We're going to watch Birdman tonight because we still haven't seen it yet, but we need to. We find a lot of inspiration and creativity comes from that because it's also a very captive thing. I mean, we try and watch that stuff with our phones off or not looking at our laptops, and you get immersed in it. You get immersed in all this set design and all this amazing writing and all this amazing acting, and you have all these things coming at you. Especially if you go to the movie theater, it's a very captivating experience. And a lot of times we leave and we just have ideas. And it's because our brain has had time to think about that. So I get really inspired by those two things right now.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I still need to see that movie. I'm with you there, though. I'm a movie fan as well. So, and then just last wrapping up, do you have any plugs for anything you're working on, Jason? I know you're working on a million different things. Go ahead and plug whatever, man. Now's the time.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I used to always have like things I was plugging, and I've got plenty of stuff that I'm working on. But I think the thing that I care most about right now is just if you align with the stuff that I'm talking about, if you're inspired by the things that I've said on this interview, you know, with these awesome folks, is to go to jasondoesstuff.com, sign up to join the Action Army. It's free, no push-ups required. It's not a real army. You can unsubscribe as soon as you want, even after the welcome email. If you don't like the tone of that, you'll know exactly how the emails are going to go. That's my big thing. I mean, everything that I do gets funneled through that email list. It's one email a week every Monday, usually a story about my life or something that I've messed up on and the lesson I've learned, or something cool that I'm putting together and that I hope you want to be a part of. And that's what's most important. So yeah, jasondoesstuff.com. There's other projects I'm working on there if you're interested, but that's my big plug these days.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and plug you really quickly as well for a few things you're working on. So I know you're starting teachery.co. Take note that it's not .com but .co, everyone. And it's an easy way to sell and distribute online courses, which is an excellent way to build another revenue stream, get new leads, what have you. Just impart your wisdom on the world. Online courses are the new big thing, and I don't think they're going away anytime soon. You have your product masterclass, which goes up $1 every single time someone buys it. So establishes a sense of urgency, which is a very clever marketing technique. But it should be really cool, and I'm looking forward to it. So if anyone's ever wondered about how to successfully launch an online product and get some traction for it and really figure out how to package it, this masterclass would probably be the way to go. You didn't pay me to say that, Jason, but did I pitch it well?
You did. You pitched it well. Yeah, the class it won't be available for purchase after February 26th. So if you watch this after that date, I think we'll have a sign-up form for the next one, which will probably be in the fall. So if you don't get this one, that's cool. Get ready for the one in the fall, and it'll be easy to get in touch on that.
But do you really want to have the regret of having to wait that long to take action? So therefore, get on it get on it by the 26th, or you'll have that feeling of regret just looming over you for months. But Jason, thank you so much for joining us. It was a real pleasure chatting with you, and I genuinely do enjoy your newsletter and your stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing all the cool and interesting things that you're doing.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I appreciate anybody who's watched this. Definitely reach out if I can help in any way through your entrepreneurial struggles, or you just want someone to hear your sob story. Trust me, I've probably been through it twice or 3 times over, so don't feel bad sending me an email about it. And thanks for having me, guys.
You're welcome.
You,
and Jason also does
public
speaking gigs as well. So, but yeah, thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
See ya. Thanks.